In this video, I'll share with you my top 10 favorite aquarium supplies. Hey, it's Carlin Haywood from Rasta Reefs, a company that is dedicated to helping individuals and businesses get the most enjoyment possible out of their aquariums. If you're new to the channel, each week I share best practices to help you achieve success in the saltwater aquarium hobby. Let's dive into the topic of this video, which is my top 10 favorite aquarium supplies. Alright, so coming in at number 10 are tongs. These are just great universal tools to have around. You can use them for grabbing things in and out of your aquarium. Gives you about an additional foot or so of reach. And for me, it's really good to be able to get into some smaller areas. Sometimes my hand is a little too big to get into, to grab certain things. So having some tongs around is really helpful to be able to really get into some of those crevices. Coming in at number 9 is a net. We are working with fish here, so they can be hard to catch. Whether you're putting them into your aquarium or taking them out, having a net on hand is a great way to be able to get them in and out of your aquarium. And then also sometimes you may overfeed your aquarium, so you may have some food floating around, so you can use the net, scoop out some of that excess food. And then sometimes there's other debris in the tank that you may also need to get out. So a net is another great tool to have on as the number 9. Next up, number 8 are brushes. Just having different varieties of brushes is really handy. So you can have like the different harnesses, like a toothbrush. I have like a little like bristle brush here, and then also a little makeup brush as well. So for some of the harder brushes, like the toothbrush, you can use that for scrubbing some coral plugs when you first get them from an LFS or any vendor. And for things like a makeup brush, I use that for actually brushing the coral itself. So if I'm going in between like zoanthid polyps, I use that as a finer brush. It's a little bit easier on the coral, and it's not as abrasive. So just overall, having different varieties of brushes is really good to have on hand. Next up on my top 10 list of aquarium supplies are gloves. You can use a disposable kind, or you can use like a reusable full-length glove. In general, it's really good practice to not put your hands in the aquarium as much as possible. You may have like lotions or soaps on your hand, and that can then leach into your water and affect your water chemistry, and then affect the livestock like your corals in your aquarium. So it's a good idea to wear your gloves during your maintenance if you ever have to stick your hand in your tank. And then also for the disposable kind, I like to use these when I'm either fragging corals. Some corals are maybe sensitive to the touch, so you don't really want to touch them with your hand. And then also some may have like some toxins, like if you're fragging zoanthids, those have some toxins that you want to really keep off of your hands as well. Coming in at number 6 is an algae scraper. I like the longer kinds and the kinds that have very little flex to them. And so these are really good for tall tanks as well as deep tanks front to back. It allows you to get all the way back to the back panel to scrape off the glass. And then also if it's a tall tank, it can help you get all the way down into your sand bed. I use these sometimes to stir my sand bed when I do my weekly water changes. And what's really important is that you find one that has very little flex to it. Because if it does flex too much, when you apply any kind of force, it'll bend, and then you won't be able to really clean off the glass like you really want to. Coming in at number 5 on my top 10 aquarium supplies list are containers, and containers of any size. I'm holding a smaller one here, but you can use 5-gallon buckets, bigger brute trash cans, but it's really important to have these around. When you're acclimating, when you're doing your water changes, it's great to have things where you can mix your salt water. You can acclimate fish in these containers. And so just in general, having something to put your water in is really important to have a few different sizes laying around. Coming in at number 4, and a possible unappreciated hero of the hobby, are towels. Things get wet a lot when you're doing your maintenance or just routine stuff throughout the day. And it's really good to have towels of different sizes. I use the beach towels whenever I'm doing my water chains. I lay out a few of them, that way I'm not damaging my floors. I have a couple hand towels that I can use to wipe down the glass, or if there are any like little splashes around, I can clean those up pretty quickly. But it's just really good to have these around. Keeps things dry, and you don't really want to ruin your surrounding areas by letting like water sit around too long. So towels, use them, and use a lot of them. We are now into our top 3. So coming in at number 3 on my top 10 aquarium supplies list is a drip acclimation line. And so I use this quite a bit whenever I'm adding new fish, new coral to a system. I think it's a great idea to drip acclimate any piece of livestock. And so having this around helps me start a siphon very easily. It helps me be able to dial in the amount of drips per second. And so having one of these around, I highly recommend it. And you'll use it quite a bit whenever you're adding any new livestock to your system. Coming in at number 2 on my top 10 aquarium supplies list is the turkey baster. This is a very versatile tool. So you can use a turkey baster if you're broadcast feeding. You can use it for spot feeding your fish and coral. I also use it if I'm doing my water changes. I can just brush off my rock structure, and then I can be able to siphon out any debris that comes off of it. And so very nice tool to use. Also, you can use it when you're drip acclimating. So if you dip your corals before placing them into your system, you can use a turkey baster to blow off any of the unwanted pests that will be stunned by your coral dip. And so all around a great versatile tool to have. Almost a number 1, but you'll understand why I picked the number 1 up here next. Number 1 on my top 10 aquarium supplies list is the Flipper algae scraper. Probably my favorite thing in the hobby right now. It's a great way to clean the glass of your aquarium without actually having to put your hands inside the tank. You're able to keep one side of the tool outside of the aquarium, and then you place the other side inside your aquarium. And so it has a scrubbing pad side as well as a bladed side that you can flip between, hence the name Flipper. You can flip between these 2 different sides for your cleaning needs. And so you're able to turn corners on your aquariums using the magnetic capability of the Flipper. Then you're also able to flip between the 2 different sides. It's a great way to make maintaining your tank very easy. I have about 3 of them I use on different systems, and so I highly recommend them. They come in different sizes, the Pico size that are very small for smaller tanks, and then it goes all the way up to I think the Flipper Max for some of the bigger tanks. And so depending on how thick your glass is or your acrylic, that will determine what type of flipper you would purchase. But again, number 1 on my top 10 aquarium supplies list is the Flipper algae scraper. If you've enjoyed this video, consider hitting the like button to help support the page. And if you'd like to be notified every time I upload new content, hit the bell notification and subscribe button as well. And as always, keep doing your research. The legend Bob Marley says, it is better to know than to believe. See you next time.